I'd just like to say from my mother's heart that I hurt so bad inside from the day that I found out.
Introducing Private Internet Access, the world's most transparent VPN provider. With over 30 million downloads, they've become the go-to solution for streaming enthusiasts and anyone looking to protect their privacy. Here's some incredible news. By using the link provided, you can enjoy an exclusive 83% discount on Private Internet Access for just $2.03 a month. You can unlock a world of entertainment, and as a bonus, they'll give you 4 extra months completely free. Private Internet Access is available on all major platforms. Stream your favorite content on your preferred device. Your one subscription is capable of protecting an unlimited amount of devices at the same time. The VPN works seamlessly with all major streaming services, unlocking a world of content no matter where you are. And yes, they support peer-to-peer file sharing. Private Internet Access prioritizes your privacy. They never record or store user data, and their no logs policy has been proven multiple times in court and verified by a third-party audit from Deloitte. By using Private Internet Access, you can hide your IP address and encrypt your internet connection. Say goodbye to prying eyes. Have commitment issues? Don't. Signing up for Private Internet Access is risk-free. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, and their dedicated 24/7 customer service team is always ready to assist you. Link for this amazing offer in the description below. Now let's get back to the video. In the early hours of April 22, 2016, a horrifying tragedy unfolds in the quiet residences scattered along Union Hill Road in nearby Piketon Village. Bobby Jo Manley sets off on her routine morning chore, heading over to tend to her sister's pets. As she reaches the property, she stumbles upon a scene of terror that will forever mar the serene image of the residences. Inside the first home, she finds 2 lifeless bodies, victims of an inexplicable atrocity. Bobby reaches out to the police, the terrified tremor in her voice initiating a 911 call at 7:51 a.m.
911. Yes, I need to get the 40 victims. Hold on. I need you to tell me the address. What's the address? Just a second. We walked to the mailbox. I think my brother-in-law's dead. Okay, what's the address? Give me just a second. Yes, 47 Union Hill Road. Ma'am, you gotta tell me what's going on. There's blood all over the house. Okay. My brother-in-law's in the bedroom. It looks like someone has beat the hell out of him.
As the police mobilize, racing against the time to arrive at the scene, Bobby discovers 2 more bodies in the second home on the property. The sheer terror of the event sends ripples through the Manley family, pulling James, brother to Bobby Jo and Donna, into the unfolding nightmare. James sets out to check on their sister Donna, only to discover the 3rd crime scene. When the police finally reach the property, they uncover 3 more victims, adding to the chilling body count. By 1:26 p.m., another 911 call pierces the air, reporting an 8th body, an adult male, lying lifeless at a 4th residence located in the neighboring village of Piketon. The scale of the tragedy begins to settle in, shattering the peaceful rural community.
This is 911. Can I help you?
Yeah, I need a deputy to come out to close to 799 West Fork.
Okay.
It's all this stuff that's on the news. I just found my cousin with a gunshot wound.
Okay. Sir, is he alive?
No.
In the midst of the horrifying event, 3 tiny rays of hope persist. 3 children barely old enough to comprehend the world around them, ages 3 years, 6 months, and a mere 4 days old, remain unscathed. The youngest, a 4-day-old baby girl, is found in bed next to her mother's lifeless body, her innocent life spared from the brutal violence that unfolded around her. In the aftermath, the youngest survivors are placed under protective services, while the 3-year-old is entrusted to his mother. The identities of the victims soon come to light, weaving a tale of a family targeted by violence. Christopher Rhoden Sr. was 40 years old and the father of Frankie, Hannah, and Christopher Jr. Despite being divorced from their mother, Donna, he maintained a close relationship with her and their children. He was a laborer and also held seasonal jobs at Big Bear Lake Family Resort. Gary Rhoden, 38 years old, was a cousin to the Rhoden siblings. A resident of Greenup, Kentucky, he was known for his hard work and love of outdoor activities. Clarence, known as Frankie Rhoden, 20 years old at the time of the incident, was engaged to Hannah Gilley. The young couple had a 6-month-old who survived the crime. Frankie also had another son from a previous relationship. He was known for his hardworking nature, maintaining multiple jobs while also finding time to enjoy hobbies like fishing and hunting. Hannah Gilley was a 20-year-old woman from Ohio. She was engaged to Frankie. In her early life, Hannah had been an active participant in her school activities and had dreams of opening her own daycare. Donna Rhoden was 37 years old and the mother of Hannah, Christopher Jr., and Frankie Rhoden. Donna worked as a nurse and was known for her generous nature. Hannah Rhoden was 19 years old. She was the mother of 2 children, one of whom, Sophia Wagner, was fathered by Jake Wagner. Hannah worked as a certified nursing assistant and was known for her resilience, overcoming hardships in her life. Christopher Rhoden Jr. was only 16 years old at the time of the crime. A freshman at Pike High School, he was recognized for his sense of justice and empathy for others. Like his brother Frankie, Christopher Jr. worked at Big Bear Lake Family Resort. Kenneth Rhoden, who was 44 years old at the time, was the older brother of Christopher Rhoden Sr. and the uncle of Frankie, Hannah, and Christopher Jr. He worked at U.S. Utilities and was known for his bright personality and demeanor. In the aftermath of the heinous crime, reactions from all quarters pour in, describing the event as tragic beyond comprehension. With the magnitude of the tragedy sinking in, the investigation gears up. From the outset, the police believe that more than one shooter is involved, based on the distance between the 4 crime scenes. The theory of a self-inflicted crime briefly flutters in the investigative circles, but is swiftly dismissed as none of the victims appear to have taken their own lives. The methodical and planned nature of the killings is noted by Attorney General D. Wine, who describes the event as a sophisticated operation. The intent of the perpetrators to erase their tracks and obliterate incriminating evidence makes the investigation all the more complex. With the Rhoden family at the center of this tragedy, surviving family members are advised to take precautions while residents of Peebles are urged to stay indoors the following night. The scale of the investigation soon expands, assembling an investigative task force of at least 100 members led by the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Identification and Investigation. A total of 251 law enforcement officials delve into the case, with sheriffs from 25 offices across Ohio extending their resources to Pike County. Technical expertise is also provided by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The investigation progresses with 5 search warrants being executed and more than 50 individuals interviewed in connection to the case. The evidence examined includes a Facebook threat targeted at Christopher Rhoden Jr., which eerily predates the crime. Among the 79 pieces of evidence examined, one element throws a curveball into the investigation. Cannabis is found at the 3 crime scenes on Union Hill Road. This includes an indoor grown house with hundreds of cannabis plants and equipment indicating breeding chickens for fighting. However, it remains uncertain whether the cannabis operation links directly to the crimes. But given the quantity, investigators speculate it was grown for sale, not personal use. This discovery places the investigation against the backdrop of Pike County's history with this type of cultivation. The likelihood of a Mexican cartel involvement in the case isn't entirely ruled out. Leonard Manley, Donna Rhoden's father, adds a twist to the story on April 26th, suggesting that the victims knew their perpetrators. This reasoning stems from the non-aggressive behavior of Donna's 2 protective dogs and the lack of signs of forced entry at the crime scenes. While expressing his frustration at allegations of his daughter's involvement, Manley adamantly denies such accusations. He insists that his daughter had no hand in the operations, expressing resentment towards the attempts to tarnish her name after her passing. As the calendar turns to August 2016, significant developments continue to emerge in the case. During a court hearing on October 4th regarding the custody of the 2 children found alive at the crime scenes, Sheriff Charles Reeder reasserts investigators' early suspicion of more than one shooter being involved. He emphasizes the grave danger the children still face due to the ongoing investigation and underscores the magnitude of the investigation, likely the largest in the BCI's history. DeWine shares new information on August 20th, confirming suspicions that the murderers knew the Rhoden family, their homes, and the surrounding area. He also announces the involvement of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and other federal agencies in the investigation, suggesting that the local community might be withholding information. On May 12, 2017, a significant turn occurs in the case. A SWAT team from the Franklin County Sheriff Office raids a Pike County home, around 10 miles from the site of the crimes. Initially believed to be a search for suspects, it is later clarified that the raid was conducted to search for evidence. One of the properties searched is tied to Jake Wagner, the ex-boyfriend of victim Hannah Rhoden, and father to her 3-year-old daughter. 1 month later, the police announced that they are seeking additional information on Jake and his family, who are residing in Alaska at the time. They express interest in any public interactions with the family, especially those involving vehicles and weapons. On November 13, 2018, a major breakthrough occurs in the case. Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine announces the arrest and charging of 4 family members for planning and executing the Rhoden family. The arrested suspects belong to the Wagner family from South Webster. Jake Wagner, his father George Billy Wagner, his mother Angela Wagner, and his brother George Wagner are all arrested. The arrests extend beyond the immediate Wagner family. Angela Wagner's mother, Rita, 65, from South Webster, and Frederica, the mother of Billy Wagner, are also arrested. They face charges of perjury and obstructing justice for allegedly misleading investigators during the course of the investigation. Rita Newcomb is additionally charged with forging custody documents in an attempt to cover up the crimes. After being arrested, Jake Wagner would confess to the crimes in exchange for his family to not receive capital punishment.
What plea do you wish to enter in count 7 to the charge of aggravated murder of Hannah Mae Rhoden?
I am guilty, Your Honor.
This is the story of the crimes, according to Jake. In the beginning, he is in love with Hannah, his girlfriend, and the mother of his daughter, Sophia. The relationship, however, ends and leaves him deeply upset. The sparks of jealousy and resentment against her for seeing other men flicker within him. Yet the idea to take her life does not originate from him. His father, George Billy Wagner, is the first to broach the subject, concerned about Hannah's associations and the potential harm they may bring to Sophia. They believe Hannah had been a victim of abuse, and they fear Sophia might face the same fate. Despite the proposal of taking Hannah's life, Jake initially refuses to entertain such a drastic action. After further consideration, however, Jake begins to succumb to his father's suggestions. He may not believe Sophia is in immediate danger, but the risk is there. He doesn't want to wait until it's too late to protect her. The realization, along with the urging of his parents, sets in motion a deadly plan. At first, the targets are Hannah and her boyfriend, Corey Holden. They plan to make it look as if Corey has taken Hannah's life before turning on himself. However, Billy Wagner dismisses this idea, believing it won't convince anyone. Another strategy emerges from Angela Wagner, Jake's mother. She suggests reporting Chris Sr. to the authorities due to his involvement with cannabis. Billy refuses this approach, unwilling to betray his friend. Eventually, the plan spirals out of control, turning into a plot against Hannah, Frankie, Little Chris, and Big Chris. Even Kenneth becomes an additional target on site. Jake confesses that they are prepared to eliminate anyone else they encounter at the location, even those who are completely innocent. The intent is set, the targets are clear, and the Wagner family is ready to execute their horrifying plan. Jake purchases parts to construct a silencer. Jake's mother acquires shoes in an uncommon style and size for her son and her husband George to wear during the operation. They usually wear boots, but the unusual footwear serves as an additional layer of misdirection. Billy overhears his cousin, Silas Wagner, planning to sell a truck. Billy seizes the opportunity, decides to buy it for the purposes of committing the crime. Jake, George, and Angela go to Silas's property, hand over the agreed sum, and acquire the vehicle. Jake reveals how they modify the truck by constructing a false bed with 2x4s and plywood, concealing it further with a layer of hay. He and George can lay within this space when they approach their targets. The night of the crime sees them dressed in ski masks and dark clothing. Billy arranges a fictional cannabis deal with Chris Sr. to ensure their unexpected arrival wouldn't alarm their targets. They gather at their home on Peterson Road around 10:30 p.m., watching a scene from the movie Boondock Saints before embarking on their gruesome mission. At the barn, away from prying eyes, they change into their crime attire, ensuring to leave a trace of the new Walmart shoes on their property. Once ready, they get into the modified truck, lying hidden in the false bed. Billy drives the truck to the rendezvous, and they remain concealed until he lowers the gate for them. Jake and George slither out from their hideaway, scurrying under the vehicle parked nearby. George holds his weapon with the intention of taking down Chris Sr. from a distance, like a sniper. The aim is to make sure that Chris won't realize his friend Billy's betrayal. In this carefully laid out sequence of events, the Wagner family positions themselves for the horrendous act that they're about to commit. The night shrouds their dark intentions as they continue to enact their grim plot. As Chris and Gary walk back single file, the plan dictates that George is to take out Chris Sr. at that point, when he passes in front of the trailer. But Jake tells how George hesitates, appearing to freeze in place. Growing impatient with George's delay, Jake seizes the weapon from him. Billy returns to question why the first shot hasn't been fired yet. Quickly, he concocts a scheme asking Chris Sr. to call his lost phone. The ruse works, leading Chris Sr. to his own doorstep and providing Jake the opportunity to take him out. Meanwhile, Angela stays back at their house on Peterson Road, holding their mobile phones and instructed to text people to create an illusion that they're home. Despite the phone jammer they tested earlier having run out of battery swiftly, the group is unaware that Chris Sr.'s phone actively would provide a time-stamped evidence to the investigators. Jake details how he takes out Chris Sr. shortly after Chris makes the call for Billy's lost phone, around 9:55 p.m. The power of the rifle propels wood splinters from the door into Chris Sr.'s skin, even breaking his arm. Inside the house, Billy fatally wounds Chris Sr. and Gary multiple times. Their grim task done at Chris Sr.'s house, Jake retrieves keys from Chris's pocket to get into the outdoor grow area. In the meantime, Chris and Billy drag the bodies of Chris and Gary to Chris Sr.'s bedroom. Having finished there, they decided to move to Frankie's residence, only to find it locked. Deciding to return later, they instead drive to Donna's house, using Chris Sr.'s truck to not raise any alarms. But Donna isn't home yet, so they decide to wait for a better opportunity. The group drives to Kenneth's residence on Left Fork for a brief check before returning to Chris Sr.'s. They then decide to move onto Frankie's residence. Jake enters through an open window at the back of the trailer, a place he had been before. He makes his way to the back door to let George and Billy in. Jake proceeds to the room where Frankie and his fiancée Hannah Gilly are sleeping and takes their lives by fatally wounding them multiple times. He looks for their phones but can't find them. Jake remembers he also took Chris Sr.'s phone previously. All they have left are phone records showing calls, but no content. Leaving Frankie's, they return to Chris Sr.'s and take his vehicle to Donna's residence. Billy and George, both armed, enter the house. Jake positions himself in a hallway where he can see both Hannah and Donna. He notices Donna is on her phone as the light illuminates her face. When Donna makes a noise, he swiftly moves into Donna's room and fires at her twice before rushing back to Hannah, at whom he also fires. After rearranging Hannah's body on the bed, Jake returns to Donna's room to shoot her again, as she was still making noises. Exiting Donna's room through the door leading to the kitchen, he finds his father standing there with a drawn weapon, with George still guarding Chris Jr.'s room. Jake then enters Chris's room and takes his life as he sleeps. Despite the horrific actions, Jake says that everything happened very quickly. They gather all the phones from the scene, return to Chris's car, and follow it with the truck they had previously purchased. The group then moves on to the Kenneth's house. Jake explains that Billy enters Kenneth's home and fires at him, fatally wounding him. The flash of the weapon is the only thing he sees. They then remove cameras from the location, attempting to erase all evidence of their actions. After dealing with Kenneth, they return to Chris Sr.'s place, leave his truck, and get back into the vehicle they bought. They return to Peterson Road, where they reverse everything they did. They park the truck in the barn, change out of the clothes they wore during the crimes, and cut up and burn the weapons to destroy evidence, like the firing pins that could be used in ballistic tests. In the aftermath, a homemade goose box serves as their grim hiding place for the weapons. The box is built in their driveway, following plans provided by Billy and crafted by Jake and George. This box, anchored to the pond by concrete buckets holding the fragmented weapons, is an eerie daily reminder of the crime for the family. Furthermore, Angela reveals her invasive actions of hacking into Facebook accounts. She claims it was initially meant to benefit George, but this privacy breach gives them unintended insight into their victims' communications. Angela also confesses her role in initiating the crimes, driven by her obsession to protect her granddaughter Sophia, even if it means threatening and causing harm to others. She admits that the family often holds meetings in the kitchen, casting votes on major decisions. Despite each family member's purported reluctance, they all agreed to commit the crime under the twisted premise of protecting Sophia. They all admit to other crimes as well, creating a pattern of unlawful behavior that leads to them being charged as a criminal enterprise. This family, united in their grim determination, would eventually face the repercussions of their collective actions. Jake Wagner pled guilty to multiple charges, including 8 counts of murder on April 21, 2021, 5 years after the Rhoden family bodies were discovered. As part of the deal that precluded capital punishment for his family, Jake was sentenced to 8 consecutive life sentences without parole. Angela Wagner pled guilty to conspiracy to commit the crimes, among other charges. The trial of Jake's brother, George Wagner, began on September 12, 2022, with the prosecution presenting evidence of concealed murder weapons and ultimately resulting in a guilty verdict on all accounts. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The trial of Jake's father, George Wagner Sr., is pending and is expected to take place sometime in 2024. So, what led the Wagner family to commit this horrific crime? While it is not clear what caused this, one possible explanation may be social learning theory, SLT. This theory suggests that learning is a cognitive process taking place in a social context. According to SLT, people learn not only through their own direct experiences, but also by observing the actions of others and the outcomes of those actions. In the context of the Wagner family, this theory may shed light on how the violent behaviors were adopted and replicated by multiple family members. Within a family, behaviors, attitudes, and norms are continually modeled, consciously or unconsciously, by elder members and observed by younger ones. Over time, these modeled behaviors can become deeply embedded within the family culture, creating a shared understanding of what is considered acceptable behavior. Family meetings and votes, as mentioned in Jake Wagner's statement, reflect the family's collective decision-making process, which is a significant aspect of the social learning environment. These meetings potentially served as a platform where violent behaviors and attitudes were modeled, justified, and reinforced, leading to a normalization of violence within the family. Another critical aspect of SLT is the role of cognitive processes in learning. Researchers have emphasized that learning involves more than simple mimicry. Individuals often construct and interpret the meaning behind observed behaviors. They then guide their actions based on this understanding. In the case of the Wagner family, each member might have cognitively processed the actions and attitudes modeled within their family context and concluded that the violence was a valid solution to their perceived problems. The social learning perspective could potentially explain the involvement of multiple family members in the crime. According to this theory, the actions of each member may not have been isolated incidences of individual decision-making, but rather a result of collective social learning processes within the family. The shared environment and interaction within the family may have facilitated the development of violent behavior, attitudes, and norms, leading to a shared understanding that committing such a heinous act was an acceptable solution to their problem. Now, while it is critical to remember that this interpretation is speculative and based on limited information, the social learning theory could potentially offer a framework for understanding the Wagner family's collective involvement in the crime. It emphasizes the importance of the social environment in shaping behavior, and how violent behaviors can be learned, internalized, and replicated within a family context. Why do you think so many Wagner family members were involved in this heinous crime? Was this all really to protect Jake's daughter, Sophia? We want to give a huge thank you to everyone over on Patreon. We want to give a big shout out to Nexus, Big Pepperoni Pizza, Chrissy R, Catherine D, Tony S, and Tiffany D. If you would like access to ad-free and uncensored versions of all Wicked videos, feel free to join our Patreon. Link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and join us next time when we explore the psychological maze of some of the most wicked people.